So what happens when you shut down the government and no one cares? No one notices and everyone's daily life just kind of goes on like like it always has been. Well, that's kind of where we're at right now with the federal shutdown. Yes, there are millions of people who are being affected, and we're going to look at some of the things that people who are being affected, again, who are within the orbit of the federal government. Uh, However, we are, what is it, the 6th today? So we're a few days into the shutdown, and just anecdotally from my side, as well as other information we're seeing around the country, the vast majority of people, those people who are not terminally online, those individuals who are not deep in the culture war of what's going on, and those who are not political analysts, uh, they're at work, they're just doing their thing, and nothing has really affected them. And that's really one of the issues that I want to talk about here because the delayed effect of shutting down the government, what it has on government spending is something that's eventually going to show up in the economy. It's going to have an effect if it goes too long. But currently, it doesn't look like it's going to be. They're going to come to any sort of resolution anytime soon because they really aren't hearing a lot of people squawk about it outside of polls that are having there. So, again, for those that don't know, my name is Ryan Helm. I'm a business coach who works out of West Michigan around the country, and I come here on YouTube just sharing information I share with my clients. And this is something that I've been talking about with my clients over the weekend and this morning during a couple meetings that I've already had, and I hope to earn your subscriptions. Let's get into this here. Uh, when just for clarity's sake and to really kind of set the stage, I was in the United States military for a little over 20 years, almost 21 years before I came out to the private sector, started working. I worked with small businesses my last 10 years as in procurement. So I was with the Small Business Administration, helping those vendors who work with the United States government in order to, well, can take care of military folks and the surrounding communities. Okay. So it's not my first rodeo dealing with a government shutdown, and it muddies so many things that are going on. But it's different this time. This particular shutdown just feels different, and I think it's going to have an effect because it's not the world's on fire. I'm hoping we're not sleepwalking into something that's going to have a huge and dramatic effect on the overall economy down the road. Because again, how much money is spent with the government. So let's get into it here. All right. So we make sure I got apologize. Last time I had been streaming on Twitch, and then I came over here to do to record my previous video, and my background music was still on doing its thing. So it kind of ruined the video a little bit. So I apologize for that. But again, go check that out. Was my previous one about what was that one on? Oh my goodness. Anyways, let's get into this here. This is what you guys are here to talk about government shutdown, not my previous videos. All right, anyway. So when will the government reopen? Again, links to all the articles we're gonna look at are gonna be in the description, so be sure to check that out. Now, when will the government reopen? Is the United States Postal Service, Social Security, air travel shut down? And that's the thing. We've gotten better, and I say we collectively is the United States government and also individuals understanding the difference between essential and non-essential services, specifically for the money that we have in the current account for the government to spend. There's going to be restrictions happening, which is there's already been people furloughed. I have friends who are in the military that are civilian. They've already been furloughed. They are not at work. They are not getting paid. There's people who've been furloughed across across the executive branch because right they don't have funding for it. Um, they are not. They are in important work, but they're not in essential work because at least in the Department of Defense, we have military working with civilians, so the military is still able to keep things going. Okay. So essential services such as military and law enforcement keep working, but non-essential functions like the national parks close or cutting staff. And you're seeing right now they're going through and the cuts they're having to make are, yes, they are not without effect. So let me give an example here before we get into the article here. Um, if you have a large national park that's around you that has a lot of staffing, those people who aren't getting paid, they're not going to be in the local economy as far as buying, again, shopping in the local economy, taking care of those small businesses. There are vendors who in those areas around those national parks who are not, they're not selling as much goods because, of the shutdown. So it does have an effect. It just takes a longer time for it to make it into the economy. But for those areas that don't have a military base around, don't have a large federal footprint in their area, um, it's going to be a minute till it shows up. And you're seeing that in those areas where it isn't as dependent upon the federal government. That again, like I said, we got folks that are out doing construction work today. They are at coffee shop buying things, and just going to work. However, as we all know, the Fed stops spending money, it does eventually affect the economy. So let's see here. So the Senate is scheduled to vote on Monday, October 6th, on a Republican-backed short-term funding bill that would end the government shutdown. Government shutdown began on October 1st. Essential government services such as Social Security, military, air traffic controllers, the post office, Medicare, and Medicaid still functioning during the shutdown. Okay. Again, they talk about we're going to have this going on the 6th here. However, I don't think you've only had, I think, 3 Democrats that have like crossed over and said, "Hey, we're going to vote just to reopen the government." I think they still got a whole group of them. They're standing strong for the reasons that they want to, which I'm not discussing the merits of why things have or haven't been passed. It's simply just the effect because it is going to have an effect on business. Now, in the partial government shutdown began October 1st. And again, when they weren't able to approve additional spending or continuation of the current spending levels. Partisan spending disputes occasionally shut down parts of the government for a few days or weeks. Traditionally, essential workers and services such as military troops or Social Security benefits are not affected by the shutdown, while visitors, again, we mentioned to the parks, are non essential as trash piles up. So right now, here's the deal. About 750,000 federal employees ranging from workers at parks to financial regulators could be furloughed under a shutdown. Now that's different I mean that is a thing for furlough. Currently, and I don't know how much of it is simply just a negotiation tactic or how much the president actually plans on going through with it. They're also looking at permanent layoffs of people as well too, culling certain services on top of the furloughs that are out there. We'll see if that happens. Again, we got Social Security checks. Again, Social Security checks are going to be coming out. That's money that's been paid into the system that, in theory, right? there's a there's a balance in the treasury somewhere that they are going to make sure it gets out to people, right? I mean, you paid in and you should be getting paid out of it. Like that's the idea. So you want to get paid there. So you can expect Social Security to keep on happening here. But again, with staffing, so that's the other piece there. Because of the reduction in staffing and Social Security, when people are calling in because there's issues or there's changes in status, whatever it is, there's going to be a delay as far as getting that done, and also again bringing new people on. It's going to be delayed your work on an already system that was already delayed a bunch. Now Medicare, Medicaid, this is another one here, and so I got my cousin. He works in the hospital system, and this is one that is another issue as government funding towards medical spending has, been transferred, reduced, reallocated, and everything. It does have an effect on in my area rural businesses that rural hospitals that are there. This is another one here. But again, this is considered mandatory spending. So no different than the military, no different than any other mandatory spending. This is going to go out there where they're going to be spending the money on this. Okay. So don't worry about that piece. Again, if we had a long-term issue with Medicare and Medicaid where that wasn't going out, considering how much we spend and how much healthcare makes up the overall economy, that would be a huge deal. You're talking about the parks, they're going to be closing on those spots there. Now, here's the deal. Do they get paid? This was the other spot here. Federal workers get paid after being furloughed temporarily for shutdowns, but the Office of Managed Budget basically, they're drafting plans for permanent layoffs, like I talked about earlier. There, programs that did not benefit from an infusion of mandatory appropriations are going to bear the brunt. We're going to get our mail, so all those things are going to happen. Okay. Um, One of the things that I just want to be able to talk about here too is what's going to happen is the current problems with the government shutting down. It's not. I mean, yes, it's happening. Yes, it's going to be a thing for a while. But if it's a short 2 weeks in and out, there's not going to be that much of effect. Yes, there is billions of dollars that are not going to be spent. However, there's going to be catch up spending that's going to happen with that. It's not that big of a deal as far as for the long term effect on things. So I want to talk about the ripple effect here. This is where I was getting at here. This is from Government Exec. Shutdowns ripple effect. Contractors, small businesses face devastating economic hit. And this is the number that I want you to be able to take a look here. So, again, link to this article is in the description here. At least 1 million contractor employees face lost paychecks as funding lapse disrupts their company's services to agencies and freezes federal operations. So, what does that mean? There are, I mean, a ton of companies who have contract employees within the United States government. They're not full federal employees, they're contractors. You see a lot of this in the intelligence agencies, some security work is out there, engineering firms, lawyers, all the different things where they are contractors that work with the government. And there's going to be a whole bunch of them that are not considered mandatory spend. And this is going to have a huge effect on these companies' ability to fund and pay these folks here. Again, these lost paychecks, yes, will they get catch up? Absolutely. But for a summer that was, to try to shine it the best I can, that was less than great, less than great for Main Street. This is another thing that is just killing another instance that is affecting cash flow negatively and is going to have, again, detrimental effects. This could be the thing that pushes some restaurants over in those areas in and around the government agencies to have to fold because the cash flow is just they can't afford to make payroll, right? Those type of things. Okay. Yeah, insert whatever you that goes on here. They've got rent to pay. Well, if they're not getting their paychecks, they're not going to be able to keep up with the rent. Now they're asking the landlords to give them a break and all the things that go on there. Feel free to insert anything that goes on, but your job is if your business if you're in the business of providing contractors support to do work for the military and then the military stops paying you, it's not just federal employees that are happening. These are private companies that are going to be struggling and possibility might be going out of business. Again, if that's longer term piece here. And again, to go back to the beginning of the conversation here, that folks, no one is really talking about the government shutdown. No one really cares. Like, I mean that in my area, and when I'm on the interwebs outside of the echo chambers that exist and the terminally online, which I have a little touch of that myself, to where these folks are overly concerned about this. It just isn't there. So if there isn't a huge push that's happening to force either the Democrats to change their mind or the Republicans to change what they're doing, this could extend for a very, very, very long time because there isn't an impetus for change. Okay. So let's take a look here. Businesses and professional groups are warning that the current federal funding lapse will cause economic harm not only government employees and contractors, but the broader U.S. economy and national security as well. There's always like 17 different ways to try to put pressure on this thing, right? Federal agencies are not able to use the capabilities of contracting partners to sustain vital operations and government shutdown. National security consequences cause unnecessary risk to U.S. citizens, both home and abroad. I mean, we talked about that there. The federal mission. So, Northern Virginia Chamber of Commerce. There's an entire song on this about the rich men in North of Richmond, right? The whole thing. North Virginia Chamber of Commerce counts many government contractors among its members and law firms, accounting firms, and real estate provides services to government contractors. Like we were talking about, that's the big deal here. Economics, the shutdown and an economic threat to federal employees and contractors. Paychecks are delayed and financial uncertainty is immediately hits local businesses, small storefronts, and large firms, right? Just exactly what we were talking about earlier here is that right now no one cares. However, as this extends and less money is coming into those small businesses and Main Street and the contractors, we're going to start seeing those effects happen here. Okay. But for right now, no one really cares. It's just, oh, okay. And they're trying to find a way to get people upset about it. It's not happening. Now, the last thing I want to cover here about, again, what I'm talking with my clients about before we get into that, I just want to say that the US government has also not stopped their marketing, right? Because they're still saying, hey, things are great. Look at this. This is from yesterday. This came out. SBA, the Small Business Administration, reports record loan approvals, boosting small business confidence, right as they shut down the government. Okay, and so with this, why did I bring that last one up? Well, one of the things that is happening too is that if individuals who would like to get more funding for small business, through the SBA loan guarantees, be able to work through that agency, a lot of their folks are furloughed right now. It's gonna be delayed or they're stopping as far as any work or any approvals on small business loans that are happening. So yeah, they're saying, hey, things are looking great, except for like right now, we're kind of slowing things up because of the shutdown. So that's something we're dealing with here. So what am I talking to my clients about with? A couple things. One, don't worry about it. Like that's my first thing. We're not an area that has a large number of federal contracts. That listen, eventually, yes, this may be a thing, but for now, for the vast majority of my clients, we have not they're not being affected negatively by by the shutdown. They aren't they don't they're I have one client that has a small contract with the federal government to do a little bit of work. I don't want to get into the particulars there. It's less than 2% of their revenue. Beyond that, the vast majority of companies are not being affected in any way, shape, or form on this as it goes. So my big thing with them is like, listen, there you need to make sure that your folks are aware, right? That there may be some effects coming at some point, but for now, we're just kind of hanging tight. There's going to be a slowdown probably if this continues over a longer term. You can expect to where we're going to have stuff shut down. It's going to affect some commercial lending, right? Business starts because the SBA is going to be slow and or slow in response or slow to get back to people. Okay, we'll just plan for that. Like, ladies and gentlemen, that's like really the big thing here right now. The things that are shut down are non-essential. That happens, right? I'm not saying that's good, bad, or indifferent. It just is, but for when it comes to the average small business owner and the businesses that are out there, all this means is that what normally takes a long time to get through the government, it's just going to take longer now. That's the effect. Until there is an absolute screeching halt to services, you are not going to see the vast majority of people care. And as long as the vast majority of people do not care, they're going about their business, working, going to grocery stores. They've got kids are in school. They've got, school events are going on. Birthdays are happening. Halloween's coming up. You name the deal. Um, there's not going to be any sort of reason to move on this quickly because no one's howling about it. Okay. So that's really what I've been talking to my clients about on this is just try not to worry about it. We're going to plan for we're planning as always for a slowdown in receipts and revenue, but that's part of normal business operations. And that's what's happening here, folks. So with that, hopefully everybody, I want to say, and not that anyone's really worried about the shutdown, but for those individuals who wanted to just a little bit different take on it, that it's not doom and gloom, it's not the end of existence as a whole. That's really where we're at. If this goes on for a few weeks, yeah, there's going to eventually be some issues that are going to start showing up. But beyond that, live your life, folks. I say it is beautiful weather here in West Michigan. Get out, go enjoy the sunshine. Leaves are changing color. Be able to go see those things. Okay. Now, if you want to learn more about how I help businesses get ready to sell, I'm an exit planner. Go ahead and check out in the link down in the description here. There is a link to my value builder assessment, and what that does, it allows business owners, if you're one, to go through and click through and say, "Hey, I take a 15-minute assessment. It's going to give you a better idea of exactly not just how well prepared your business is to sell, but how well your business is structured in a way to be able to be something that's enduring that not only would want to sell, but other folks may that would be something that can live on past you if you want to hand it to your family members, is give sell to your employees, whatever that looks like. And again, if you want to learn more about how I also work with businesses, not necessarily get them ready to sell, but to help them run better, go ahead and check out summitbusinessguys.com. Link is in the description. Now, hopefully, I earned your subscription today, folks. Appreciate everybody who's hung out this long. Take care, and I will see you next time.